How about the a man that maybe could run for governor of the state of Arkansas right now? Sam Pittman got the Razorbacks going bowling once again. Coach, I need a little help. I know you get fired up on the sidelines. My voice is shot right now. So when that happens, all right, any kind of tricks of the trade, any kind of like country remedies you can help me get my voice going?
I don't. I drink a lot of Diet Mountain Dew. I know that's not good for you, but that's my remedy.
Coach, I tell you what's good for you is KJ Jefferson. And, I don't think people realize what an impact player he is. You look at the stat line, it doesn't necessarily blow you away. But in the clutch, when you needed him, with just over 2 minutes left in that ball game, you guys down, needing a touchdown, 6 of 8 throwing the football, made a couple big plays, scrambling. I mean, how do you describe what this guy has become for your team and the type of leader that he is?
Yeah, isn't it amazing his improvement from the first game to right now? And some of that is us. We're learning and finding out more about him. But, I'm not for sure that the biggest play in that drive wasn't a throwaway out in the flat, just getting rid of the ball and saving our time. I was so proud of our kids because I never got into a panic mode because the way KJ ran the 2-minute drill. And every time he hit one of our receivers, we were able to get out of bounds. And I was so proud of the receivers, the O-line. But KJ knew where to go to the ball so we could save our time.
When you're talking about not being in a panic mode, obviously you see it from the players, but how about from a coaching standpoint as well, too? You're entering your second season, making those calls. What's that like in the headset, in the last part of that game? Who's in your ear and how much conversation is being had?
The conversation is going strictly between myself and Coach Briles and, of course, the offensive staff, but nobody's allowed to say anything besides Kendall and I, But we go through it on Monday and Tuesday. We do 2-minute on Monday and Tuesday. And I have been, fortunately, very, very calm in those situations. We had one against Ole Miss as well early in the year that we had to go score a touchdown. The only conversation we had was about with 42 seconds left, and Kendall said, we ought to call a time. We had 2, and I said, oh, heck no, that's too much time. I'm trying to run this thing down to the last play or 2, and we ended up getting in there with 21 seconds left, which obviously was a little bit too much time.
Coach, PB mentioned that you're in the midst of your second season there in Fayetteville. I got to be honest with you, though. It feels like 3 seasons for Arkansas here in just the 2021 year. The fast start in September, struggled a little bit in October, and now coming into November after the bye week, you look like you're another team here at this point. The season flies by for players and for coaches, but how difficult, or players and fans, how difficult is it for coaches to manage not only a 12-game season, but how difficult it is here in the SEC with the grind that you face physically and mentally every single week?
Well, the SEC West too. It's because everybody's going, well, we're bowl eligible. Well, we only have LSU, Alabama, and Missouri left. So it's tough. And like you just said, and it's correct. We were 4-0, we were 8th in the country, and we lost to Georgia and then Ole Miss by 2-point conversion, and then Auburn. Well, there's also about every other team that's played those teams has lost to them too. So, they're good football teams. It's not like we've been upset by somebody that's not very good, but we knew it was going to be a hard run going from fall camp to 8 consecutive games, especially having the hardest schedule in the country. And we just didn't fit through it like we wanted to. We did get a break with playing Little Rock where we could kind of not go as much hitting playing in Little Rock, playing Pine Bluff, so we didn't have to hit as much that week. I didn't feel like, and then the bye week it saved us. I don't know that we could have beat Mississippi State if we would have had to go 9 weeks straight in a row. I just don't know if we'd have had a healthy enough team.
All right, so when we talk to the league office, I'm going to implore to them after the last 2 seasons in your schedule, please, Charlie, all those guys, make sure Coach Pittman gets a better schedule coming out next year. All joking aside, though, if you could place your bye week at a perfect spot as a head coach, when does a coach want their bye week?
I think I'd play 7 straight. The easy answer is 6-6. half and half. But I think I'd go 7, not quite 8, and then end up with 5. We went 8-4. I just think it's too long. And I'll be honest with you, this year was, to me, here in Arkansas was the weather was hotter, and we just, we couldn't get away from the heat as much. I worried about that as well. And then I probably won't be as worried about it when our depth gets better. But right now, I think I'd take the first 7 weeks.
So, Coach, you talk about the depth. Your roster was hit with a big loss with Jalen Catalon going out. I talked to you about this a couple weeks ago, trying to figure out how to replace him, not only in terms of production, but what he does in a leadership role. You guys struggled with some coverage busts before the bye week. I felt like you guys had a great plan, did a great job of seeing the football, rallying to the football, tackled really solid early in that game. What do you make of the overall execution of your defense and trying to now fill that void of Jalen Catalon's loss?
Well, we had some mistakes in the secondary. We have a couple of new safeties back there in Slusher and Chavis, and I believe they'll get better and better. Blair played a lot back there as well. But, we didn't want to get beat deep, and we didn't. But we did get beat underneath, and we have to be tighten down our coverage. We did that a little bit better in the first half, and the second half we did not. There was a lot of space in there to complete open passes. We didn't get the pass rush. We've got to mix that up a little bit more to help our secondary.
Well, luckily you got a heck of a guy in Barry Odom that can help you do that going forward. All right, Coach, best of luck coming up next week against LSU. Last question for you. When should you be able to start playing Christmas music? Is it now or is it after Thanksgiving? When's the proper time for Christmas music?
Well, it depends on what you want to do, I guess. But I think it's after Thanksgiving. But by golly, somebody wants to get up this morning and throw on some Frank Sinatra, we'll go right after it.
Put it on the damn jukebox. There it is. He is Coach Sam Pittman. And by the way, I agree with you. After Thanksgiving is the perfect way to do it. A game in which, I got to be honest with you, I'm shocked. LSU, Alabama, and the way that it happened. This was 2014. If you would have told me this after watching really 2019, 2020 football, you would have told me we're going to have a 20-14 score. There's no way in hell I would have believed you whatsoever, because this felt like it was LSU, Alabama back in 2012, 2013, where both defenses played extremely well.
This is exactly what you asked for, that you called on Friday when we did the show. It's like, hey, LSU's got nothing to lose at this point, right? Your coach is going to be gone. There's going to be wholesale changes. Come out and play loose. Come out and have some fun. And that's what they did from the get-go. A fake punt to get things going in the second drive of the game for LSU. You look at what they were able to do defensively, where they were bringing pressure all night on Bryce Young. That defensive effort was outstanding, especially in the second half. The final 5 possessions for Alabama, no scores for them, and 4 of them were 3 and outs. We're talking about an offense that we felt like was ascending and getting better each week, that LSU effectively shut down for the most part in the second half.
An LSU team that had like 6 starters not play in that game on the defensive side of the ball. So you would wonder, all right, is Nick Saban going to be pretty hot and bothered in his post-game presser? Actually, Nick had nice things to say.
The defense did a great job. We got a lot of stops in the second half when there was a one-score game. One on the goal line when it was 3rd and 9 or whatever was really big. But, offensively, we didn't move the ball at all. Lots of 3 and outs. Couldn't keep the ball away from them. So a win's a win. It's always great to beat LSU. We knew they had a good team. They played a really good game, but I'm proud of our players for the way they competed and finished the game.
Will Anderson, I had to take a double look and see if there were 5 of you out there tonight, because you were all over the place. How did you play with such effort and really control this game defensively?
Games like this, they mean a lot to us, so we had to come out here. We had to be dominant. We had to show that we were relentless with our effort, and we had to play and be on the same page and get the calls and get lined up fast, and I think that was the biggest part.
That's not a human being right there.
You know what?
Will Anderson is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I love guys that are hyped up coming out of high school that not only live up to the hype but exceed the expectations, and he was one of those guys. It reminds me a lot of Tim Tebow, actually. When he was coming out of high school, everybody talked about what a great player he was going to be, and he exceeded that hype. Will Anderson has not disappointed at all from the moment he stepped on campus. He's been an impact player. I feel like he's taken his game to the next level this year, but I have some concerns about Alabama, particularly on the offensive line. When you look at the box score and see Alabama rushing for 6 yards, that just is not one of the things that we're used to seeing. And obviously, injuries up front and reshuffling. Dalcourt goes out from the center position. You have to move Owens over from the tackle spot. They just weren't able to get any sort of push up front, nor were they able to protect Bryce Young. And that is a concern going forward with the Alabama team that you feel like is going to have a chance to compete in the SEC championship game, presumably in the college football playoffs. You've got to find a way to shore up the offensive line because that's where it all starts.
Listen, I mean, LSU had Max Johnson got the ball out of the pocket a little, or out of his hand a little bit quicker, I think LSU ends up winning this game.
Do you think if there was a different quarterback in there for LSU that they would have won? Because I heard that from a couple LSU people.
I mean, listen, I get it. Like Garrett Nussmeier has shown some glimpses of it, but are you going to put Garrett in that situation on the road in Tuscaloosa? I guess maybe you could have, but I don't know necessarily that was the right play. It was just they did not get the plays that they needed from Max Johnson, which, by the way, is a credit to Will Anderson and the secondary, because it wasn't just like, hey, guys were wide open, they weren't hitting them. It was the coverage was doing a really good job.
LSU, I believe, played as physical and as hard as they have all year last week. So Coach Orgeron certainly has the team still, and they're very, very talented. They're LSU, but from what I saw on film, compared to the other weeks, they've always played hard, but I thought they played extremely well, physical Saturday against Bama.
LSU won the national championship the year before you got here. You're going down there and you're in your 20th game here and you're favored over them. But did you ever think in the wildest expectation that the program would get to where it is this fast?
Well, I think it's a little bit of combination of the both teams, obviously, but I don't know. I've got a strong belief in the University of Arkansas. We came here to try to win football games, the best we know how. But no, going to LSU at night and being favored in year two, probably no.
Coach, where did the bowling ball come from, and why is it named Larry?
I love that question. So I sent Pat Doherty out to find a bowling ball. And he went to somewhere and he said, man, they're expensive. And so I said, well, go down the bowling alley. They may have one or two laying around, And so he bought Larry for $20. I did, actually. And it was great because when he brought the bowling ball back, it had the name Larry on it. And I thought it was awesome. Obviously, I'd told Hunter before the game that if we win, we're going to bring Larry out, and the thing about that is, I said it was like a Super Bowl for me personally and our team. I don't know what a Super Bowl feeling is. I don't. I know what winning the Rose Bowl is like, and I know what playing in a national championship game and those things are like. My opinion is about our football team. And if you were in our locker room, it can't get a whole lot better than what it did. Now, that's not the goal, but that was one of the goals. And when we reach a goal, we're going to celebrate it.
Speaking of Alabama, we all think Alabama still has a really good team, right? They number 2 in the country. But the about-to-be former LSU coach, Ed Orgeron, has a different idea.
I felt we were a better team that night, Steve. And you know what? I don't know if they was expecting us to be that good, but usually an Alabama team is always playing to its peak performance. I don't know if they played to their peak performance or not, but we matched up pretty good. People had talked in the beginning that we're not physical or nothing like that. We hold Alabama to 6 yards, so it shows that LSU can be physical. I don't know. I can't judge how good they are. They're not as good as the teams we played in the past, but maybe they might be the best team in the country. I don't know that, but they weren't that night.
Hey, Coach O starting to sound like you ever seen one of these movies where they have a famous like a heavyweight championship of the world, and one guy loses and he's in the emergency room, with 2 black eyes and a broken nose, but he's saying you should have seen the other guy. Oh, you lost the game. Saban's not worried about you anymore. Quit talking already, okay?
I love the mindset of our team. Like I said, we went there to win the game. I really felt we were a better team that night, and I still feel that way after watching the film. Just a couple plays short. Like I said in my press conference after, I wish we could have put our offense in better position to make some plays, especially on the 8-yard line down there. We had a chance to score. Really proud of our defense. For our defense to hold them to 26 points below their season average. First time in 34 games they didn't score 30 points. Dominated the run. Think about this, 6 yards rushing, tied for the lowest rushing yards in school history. And they've had some great football teams here that have gone there. And that's you got to give the credit to our players and give the credit to our defensive coaches for holding them to 6-yard rush. I thought that was a phenomenal deal and shows that we are physically tough here at LSU. The situation came up, the first punt, we said if we were around the 50, there's 4th and 5 or less, we're going to call it. And we called timeout, and we got it called, and Avery ran up there screaming, run, run, run. It was executed perfect. What a great call by Coach Mack, and give credit to Avery and Jack and all the guys that ran the deal. It was a great play, and it was fun to see it, and it was fun to see us put in a position to score. This week we're going to let Max start, but we're going to put in Garrett. Garrett's going to get some plays. I already talked to him, and we're going to let the best man win. And, it's time to let Garrett play. He's a great quarterback. I like Max a lot. Max is still our starting quarterback, but I will give Garrett a chance. I talked to him. He wants to play, so he will play against Arkansas. And the guy that ends up playing the best is going to play the most. I feel good about it. I feel good about the mindset of the team. Tommy and Moffitt, we always work out on Monday morning. The team was great this morning. I told them, hey, you play like this, we may win the rest of our games and go to a bowl, and they deserve that. But we've got to take it one at a time. Arkansas is a very good team. They have a very good record. But I think this team's going to finish strong. I see a lot of fight in them. I see a lot of guys getting opportunity, like Sony Fanu getting opportunity, wanting to playing their butts off. There's a lot of older guys, Neil Farrell. They came back to have a good year, and this means a lot. Not only the record, but these guys are playing to go to the NFL, and they want to have a good show.
Scott, let's get to the big story in Baton Rouge, and that's what's next for the Tigers. I'll just sit back and listen because everyone has their own theory and their own sources. What about yours?
What I have gathered is that, and this doesn't mean it's going to be one of these 3 guys, but the top 3 candidates right now are Jimbo Fisher, Lincoln Riley, and Mel Tucker. And there might be as many as 5 guys that Scott Woodward is looking at. Certainly recently he was. But these are the 3 guys, and everyone, I agree, and I think a lot of people agree that his top target is Jimbo Fisher. They were together. They kind of came up together professionally. Jimbo, of course, was Nick Saban's offensive coordinator here when he arrived at LSU in 2000. Scott Woodward was working for Mark Emmert, who at the time was LSU's chancellor, as the director of external affairs on the academic side of the university. And, of course, Woodward hired him at Texas A&M. And there's a relationship there. And I think Jimbo still has an affinity for Louisiana. He did not say he was not leaving Texas A&M. He didn't say he wouldn't come, obviously, when he was asked about it recently. But he, contrary to what some people have said, he did not say he was, would definitely say, I plan on fulfilling my contract, which is not exactly the same thing. I think if he would, not saying he would leave for A&M, but I think if any place he would leave, it would be for LSU. Mel Tucker also was on Saban's first staff at LSU, coached for him there, coached for Michigan State, coached for him at Alabama, coached under Kirby at Georgia. Has got that pedigree. Doesn't have a long track record as a head coach. He's been in the NFL. He was even an NFL interim coach with Jacksonville. His resume kind of reminds me of Nick Saban when he came here, and Bill Arnsparger when he came here as LSU's head coach back in the 80s from the Miami Dolphins. And then you have Lincoln Riley, who, of course, is the kind of the Sean McVay mold, the hot, young, offensive-minded coach, won the Big 12 every year, always in the playoff his first 3 years, didn't make it last year. But maybe, you think, why would he leave Oklahoma? LSU's won 3 national titles since Oklahoma won their last one and stomped Oklahoma on their way to their last title 2 years ago. Maybe he's thinking there's a ceiling at Oklahoma. It would take a lot of money, but LSU's willing to spend it. But I will say this, Paul. People will say, you can't get this guy, you can't get that guy. Scott Woodward is not going to be limited by his imagination, who he can go after or what he could pay. And I think for the right candidate, there could be a $100 million package out there, and that's going to get people's attention.
A team that has just, again, kind of crazy when you look at it, how as competitive as they've been, they still lost 4 of their last 5. That's the LSU Tigers. The battle for the Golden Boot, which is still arguably one of the craziest trophies. LSU in Arkansas, night game in Tiger Stadium. I would have never thought that I'd see that Arkansas would be a favorite in this game if you go back and look a couple years ago.
Yeah, that is hard to believe, but I'm not so sure. And it goes back to, who shows up, Bo. Like, if I see LSU that showed up against Alabama on Saturday, they win this game by 2 touchdowns. But if they're not involved, if they're not into it, Arkansas is able to go out and run the football. One of the best rushing teams, as I just told you a minute ago, in the entire country. And how about KJ Jefferson? I think KJ Jefferson is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the country. What he means to this team, what he did on Saturday, bringing them back from a late deficit there in the final 2 minutes of that ball game, what he can do throwing the football and even more so buying time with his legs and ultimately running the football with some of that Cam Newton-like power. I think this guy deserves a lot more credit than what he's getting.
Sam Pittman, talk to me about the LSU Tigers and your approach.
LSU, I believe, played as physical and as hard as they have all year last week.
I told them, you play like this, we may win the rest of our games and go to a bowl, and they deserve that. But we got to take it one at a time. Arkansas is a very good team. They have a very good record. But I think this team's going to finish strong. I see a lot of fight in them.
We've got to speed up our offense a little bit. I thought we're playing a little bit slow. Saturday, we'll speed it up a little bit and try not to let them get into those looks and into those special packages. I think we'll have to be very, very cognizant of how we sub getting to third down so we can keep whom they have on the field. And maybe they can't get to some of those looks as well. But you're right, it looked like a fresher, different team as far as the blitzes were concerned.
Kendall Briles with a good time, right? You want to go fast? Oh, I'll show you fast, right?
Do you believe that, or do you think that's just a smokescreen?
No, I think it is. I mean, you look at some of the most impressive teams in our offense. Ole Miss, Tennessee, both use tempo to their advantage. Mm-hmm. Arkansas has shown times where they're able to do that. It does limit the substitution abilities. It limits the ability to give a bunch of different looks and confuse the quarterback. So I think it's an advantage that you're going to see more teams in the country use a lot more as we move forward.
I think, honestly, as much as I think it is, we talked about, you brought up KJ Jefferson and what they've been doing, Treylon Burks. I think Burks can have an absolute field day against a depleted LSU secondary right now. Now, although Cordell Flott is supposed to be back. He was back at practice this week. I flip it on the other side. I think this is a good game for Barry Odom because I think they're going to play 2 quarterbacks. I think they'll play Max Johnson and Garrett Nussmeier, Doug's son, as the backup quarterback. I think he'll get to play a little bit in this game.
By the way, there is frustration that Max Johnson doesn't understand how the ball needs to come out a little sooner, right? There have to have some sort of clock in your head, as people say. But especially with that offensive line, who is not great at protecting, he's got to know that ball has to come out of his hands. You can't afford to stand in the pocket.
But that's the reason, and that's the reason why. 2 reasons why I like Arkansas in this game, and it pains me as an LSU guy. One is no chasing.
I'm not doing this, by the way. I'm pulling the curtain back on you because twice this year you've picked against your LSU Tigers.
Yeah.
I did it against Florida. Mm-hmm. You did it last week against Alabama. I know they lost the game against Alabama, but that was definitely a moral victory, which is not something LSU fans typically celebrate.
And maybe LSU fans want me to pick against them right now. Not that I think Ed Orgeron and the team cares, but I look at this as no Chasen Hines on that offensive line. Ed Ingram's not going to play. You might be playing 2 different quarterbacks. quarterbacks. I got an issue with that. And I also think that they left everything out on the field for Alabama. I felt like Alabama was their bowl game. But Alabama was their Super Bowl, and they damn near won it. I think had they won that game, all of a sudden maybe there's a different change in mentality that they can kind of finish the season strong. I think that at that point, you look at it and go, man, that's all we got.
You have nothing to lose. Like, playing a bowl game's great, but hey, let's go have fun right now. Let's run some more fake punts. Let's be a little tricky with what we're doing. Let's go for it a little bit more.
Let's go win the trophy that weighs 700 pounds.
Let's not hurt ourselves in celebrating when we get that trophy.
I still don't know how OSHA allows that trophy, the Golden Boot.
Arkansas and LSU. Figuring out LSU might be the biggest question mark in college football right now. Last week they nearly beat Alabama. Some weeks they look like they forgot to catch the bus.
Well, they incredibly frustrated me last week, not because of how poorly they played, but because of how great they played. And I'm thinking, where has this been all season long, let alone being down the number of starters they were on the defensive side of the ball. But I truly believe when you send the message, when you say it in the locker room, hey, we got nothing to lose, guys. Let's go out there and have fun. And then right off the bat, you call a fake punt. Right off the bat, defensively, you're blitzing from all over. Durante Jones, I thought, did a great job with the defensive game plan last week and showing some things that they hadn't done a lot of the other seasons with a lot of the other games this season with some of the overloads and pressures and dropping guys out. Really had Bryce Young confused. So the key here for LSU, do they play with the same energy that they did last week? How much of that emotional fuel is left after being so close on the road in Tuscaloosa? And did they put too much of the emphasis on winning that football game? I do think that KJ Jefferson is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the entire country. What he's done all year long for this team last week, bringing them back in the final 2 minutes of that ball game to pull out the victory, is something he's been doing all season long. And I don't think people have paid enough attention to him. So I do think this is a week where LSU maybe plays down a little bit to their level of performance from where they were last week. And I think Arkansas runs the football with some success and is able to win in Baton Rouge.
It is a big deal when Arkansas and LSU square off. It is the battle for the Golden Boot. And for the last 5 seasons, that boot has gone to LSU. That game in prime time Saturday night right here on the SEC Network. And Cole Kubler is, of course, part of that call. This is a game, Cubes, that is always big for Arkansas. This is their big rivalry game. We understand that. How would you gauge the level of importance of getting this one this year against this LSU team?
Oh, I think it's massive. Number one, like you just mentioned, Dar, they haven't had it in a while, but talking to Sam Pittman, he sort of laid out the goals for this football team and what the run that they wanted to go on towards the end of the season meant. They got the Southwest Classic trophy earlier in the season. They want to get the boot, and then they want to get the trophy beating Missouri and obviously go to a bowl game as well. Those are the things that Pittman told us meant the most to his team down the stretch. And obviously Alabama, they're going to play them. You don't have a trophy for that one, don't really need one. We know what that game means. But I think it shows steps in the program, progress in the program, and these are things that have not been accomplished in quite some time. Hadn't had the boot since 15, hadn't been to a bowl since around that same amount of time. So Sam Pittman's taking those baby steps as a program for the Razorbacks, and this will be another massive one for a very successful season already.
Yeah, it has been for them. For LSU, it has not been. And we know Ed O, of course, is on his way out. How is he continuing to drive and motivate this LSU team?
I think a lot of it just comes from his energy, and it's infectious. And we had a chance to spend some extra time with him around the facility today and just kind of see what he's been doing, how he's been doing it. Dari, this is a guy that gets on the phone on Saturday mornings with his staff in a meeting room, and they recruit for hours. I mean, he's still going on the road and recruiting for LSU. It's just because it means a lot to him. And I think that's part of the person that he is. And he said he was going to do his job through the rest of the season. So he's doing his job through the rest of the season. I think you motivate these young men by giving them things that are going to be fun. Durante Jones telling us about all those defenses that they put in last week and how excited the group was to walk through those looks, knowing they were going to be able to execute those against Alabama. Continue to give players opportunities. Listen, Dari, there are a lot of NFL players on this LSU roster. They want to improve their draft stock. So I think the coaching staff has had conversations with them to say, we're going to give you opportunities to go do that. And obviously a lot of pride has to be a big part of it to just finish the season strong.
Where did, real quick, Cole, just to follow up on that here before we get to one more game, where did LSU's defensive performance last week come from?
It was all new. We talked to Durante Jones about it. We talked to Ed Orgeron about it today. Coach O actually watched some film with us a little bit and kind of took us through some of those different looks that they had. They went back to a 3-down front, so they played some 3-4. They showed some old school zone blitz like Pittsburgh Steelers, Kevin Green, Greg Lloyd, Rod Woodson back in the day. Showed some Dick LeBeau looks, and then they went 5 down. So they forced Alabama. They covered up all 5 offensive linemen, forced them to basically go 5-0 protection, which is man protection across the board, and they blitzed to the back, which if you're an RPO offense, that's a problem because there is no R in RPO if you don't fake it to the back, and he comes across that line of scrimmage. So they had 2 weeks to prepare. They knew they needed to be aggressive. Obviously, Dari, we know what the situation is with LSU's record and Ed Orgeron not going to be the coach anymore. So they said, we've got time to really go out here and take those chances. We got nothing to lose. Let's play loose. Let's play fun. Let's give them some looks that they haven't seen, and they were able to pull that off. Defense had a great day. I mean, you give Neil Farrell a lot of credit. He played great up front. A couple other guys on that defense played extremely well, but the looks that they presented Alabama, they haven't run that all year. So it was confusion, commotion, and a lot of destruction by that LSU defense.
I mean, good for them, too. They haven't run it all year. They had a short time to learn it, and they executed as well as they did. That says a lot about them. Okay, you guys are our primetime game. The game before you is interesting. South Carolina, Missouri, 2 teams that obviously both want to go bowling. South Carolina needs 1 win. Missouri needs 2. How do you describe the level of importance of this particular game in Columbia that might otherwise be somewhat overshadowed?
I think if either one of these teams are going to go to the postseason, Dari, this is must win because the other winnable game I think Missouri has is going to be Florida on November the 20th. Now, people would say, Florida, you're crazy, but you give me Florida going to Como on November the 20th, all of a sudden that's advantage Missouri. I don't really care what the 2 teams look like. And we know Clemson is still out there lingering for South Carolina. They need to go ahead and wrap up bowl eligibility now, in my opinion. So this game becomes huge. And I think the winner of it, obviously South Carolina gets it. They're going to a bowl game. Missouri got to get a couple more, but this one's massive for both of those teams to get to the postseason.
Yeah, Auburn and Clemson await South Carolina. Even though it's a down Clemson, it's still a very talented Clemson. All right, Cole, we'll see you in prime time Saturday, buddy. Thank you much.
Thank you, Dari.
All right, so as they were getting ready for this game, Cole and Tom Hart, who will be on the call, of course, in prime time in Baton Rouge, had a little sit-down with Ed Orgeron. And, of course, we know he's a Louisiana guy, a lifelong LSU fan, but an interesting part of that conversation.
Well, I got to tell you this story, man. So, you know, you go to school on Monday. Well, back then, we used to have to talk to each other. We didn't have no phones, right? I mean, everybody, hey, what you did this weekend and all that. And some of the kids would say, yeah, I went to LSU game. I wouldn't go during the LSU game. So I went home. So to talk to my father, I said, Dad, we got to go sit on the swing. We had to talk serious stuff, right? I'll never forget the day, man. I said, Dad, I said, all the kids, not all the kids, most of the kids said they go to LSU game on Monday, on Saturday. Why we don't go? He said, boy, that's the rich kids. We can't afford that. And my daddy said that. I said, okay. He said, but let me tell you something. You keep on working like you are, you will never need a ticket to get into that stadium. Think about when they gave me the key to Tiger Stadium. So every time I open that, I think about my father. It's pretty cool.
And there's also the Battle of the Ravine, not too far from where we are, in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. Washington Baptist against Henderson State. They're across the street from each other. Now, you see all this plastic? That's because there's a long history of pranks between these two. In fact, they suspended playing for a number of years because of that.
All right, number 4, Mississippi State at Arkansas. 2nd and goal, Jaquavius Marks.
Get you some.
Man, Grant Morgan, he is such a good player.
Is he a good football player?
He's so tough. He just makes it happen.
Like that guy.
Love him.
He makes so many plays. You don't realize how hard and how intense rivalry games are. Weeks ago, I told you how hard it was going to be for Florida to go to Death Valley and play at LSU. And it's not because LSU necessarily played well the weeks leading up. It's because you know LSU in that week is going to give everything. They're going to be so focused. They're going to go from what was an average team to on that Saturday for 3 hours, a really good football team. They did the same thing against Alabama. It went from an average team to a really good team. And LSU playing that way beats most teams around the country.
Yeah, it was impressive, too, that it was so many of LSU's young players with their roster being so injured and so many guys out. And speaking of LSU, the boot's up for grabs today against Arkansas. Paul so eloquently described this boot earlier, but either way, the boot trophy is where it's at. You got to think LSU's confident. Need to avoid a letdown, though. Cole Kublik and Tom Hart met with Coach O to find out exactly how they schemed up that defense against the Tide.
guy comes to you on Friday afternoon, nobody else in the building says, I got a blitz.
That's right.
How often does this happen? I mean, this is like drawing up stuff in the dirt, it feels like.
This is Friday during open day, right? And Kevin's in here all the time. He's from Syracuse. I got to tell him to leave the office, man. We get in here at 6. I go home at 9. Kevin scores always out there. And he's always coming up with something. So we needed something different. And I was willing to do whatever it took to beat Alabama. I got to give him the credit for coming up with this zero blitz. Give the credit to the defensive staff for putting it in. And Durante called it. I thought Durante called a great game.
It feels like when you pressure this much, when you go zero as often as you did, it's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah.
Right? So what are the nerves like from a head coach on the sideline when you know there's a bit of a gamble at this point?
What are they going to do? We're playing free. We're playing free. We're a 28-point underdog. We're going to Alabama, and nobody gave us a chance. You know what I said? Hey, let's throw caution to the wind. Whatever it takes to beat these guys, we're not going to blink.
At one point during that game, Nick Saban said, oh, yeah, they threw us the kitchen sink, and that's exactly what happened. But let's talk about Arkansas in this game against LSU today. They're bowl eligible for the first time since the 2016 season. You've been driving your Arkansas bus, Roman, but I do think that Arkansas fell off a little bit. He got off. He had to get off, but he got back on. It's fine. Yeah, you filled it back up. So either way, Arkansas had all this momentum. Now they are bowl eligible. It feels like we kind of forgotten about them for the obvious reasons, but what do you think about them today against an LSU team that's coming off of what felt like they won the game against Alabama?
I feel like KJ Jefferson has been good as anybody when he has to be. In the biggest moments, that is when he's doing it. I love when he actually just decides to run the football, tucks his head, and he's big enough to do this. He can run over people. He has a strong arm. And Treylon Burks is the best, one of the best players, if not the most explosive offensive player in the SEC. He can line him up at running back. You can put him in the slot. You can put him out wide. He can throw the football. You have to get this guy 11 to 12 touches every game. And when they do that, Arkansas is a successful team.
He's a matchup problem for anybody.
We'll kick it off to get us started. LSU, see if they can play loose tonight after leaving it all on the field against Alabama a week ago. No return.
Johnson comfortable.
Ty Davis Price is the running back, and he'll get a chance on first down. That Arkansas defense stops him at the line of scrimmage. Coach O about that yesterday. Avery Atkins threw a jump pass to get the first down, and he lets go a boomer down inside the 25. Bryce Stevens has a chance for a return. Here's Stevens. Past the 45, and great field position for Arkansas after a 25-yard return. Dominic Johnson went over 100 yards against State last week. He's the starting tailback. They're going to fake the reverse to throw, and they got a first down to the tight end, Blake Kern, who spins down to the 35. Distance is good, but it sneaks in, and little by that much.
A little pistol formation. First time we've seen that tonight.
Toss to Armani Goodwin, and he's unable to make it back to the line of scrimmage. Second possession for LSU. Johnson on 3rd and 7. They finally get to him. He held the football and gets taken down for the first sack of the night for Arkansas.
One direction. Running back's going to stay in. Tight end staying in. Really 6-man protection, almost 7 with the chip. Max Johnson's got to get the football out.
To Nussmeier. We asked for the scouting report. They said he's a gunslinger. He'll take some chances. Wants to throw on first down. Lets it go. Incomplete.
One song and one song only. Gets the people going.
Jeez. Oh, that's a Cole Kublik tradition every game. Poole and Henry in. They try to go straight ahead with Josh Williams, who finds just one. And he drills it. Sent that one 20 rows.
Pressure coming from everywhere. Spins out and just says, you know what, I got the one-on-one. Let's get it to the end zone. Heck of a grab by Bash.
It's pretty simple for a quarterback to earn respect of his teammates. Hogs drop 8. Nussmeier on the run. And it is battled for, and Monteric Brown was able to get a hand on it.
You're seeing Arkansas just trying to reroute a lot of the LSU wide receivers. Pressure gets to Nussmeier a little bit early, has to leave the pocket. That's just a tough throw.
To get in there, he said, man, your security was tough. Here's a reverse to Burks. LSU has eyes on him. That's something that we talked about with this LSU coaching staff. And balance attack for LSU. And on the Wildcat loose ball, Arkansas's got it. Ty Davis-Price couldn't handle the high snap. And the Razorbacks catch a break.
Let's take a look at the snap. Get a good angle of it here. Oh, just a little off to the right.
I know it's not a great snap, but I feel like that's the kind of snap that a quarterback handles that a running back doesn't have the reps to handle.
You could see Ty Davis-Price's arms almost stay bent just a little bit. Even if you rep it, you don't rep it all the time. Price doesn't do that as much.
And now you ride a Peloton. Here's a handoff. Dominic Johnson hangs a U-turn. And he will slither and now power his way to an Arkansas first down.
More often. How do you have 408 yards and a half and 15 points?
Nothing doing in the run game with Corey Kiner. Looking for that second receiver. Here's the first quarterback, KJ Jefferson. Quarterback keeper into LSU territory for 14 yards. Third series of the game, has not relinquished the quarterback position. Ty Davis-Price, who fumbled on the Wildcat, picks up a yard on first down. Nussmeier floats it out to Ty Davis-Price, and he's taken down in the open field by Bumper Poole. They're going to run it. And here goes Traylon Smith. And he tripped over the 30 to end the half.
Smith gives you a little extra juice on the outside.
Bring Burks into the backfield. Jefferson needs 5, going to run for it. Got it! First down, Razorbacks, and he shoves his way all the way up to the 45. Man coverage on the outside. Jefferson looking for him. Pressured. Bounces off a guy. Will rumble and picks up the first down. Traylon Burks and Traylon Smith. Jefferson takes it down for a gain of 7. And Nussmeier did bring a spark, even though he wasn't efficient early. Needing 1, Arkansas stands up Ty Davis-Price. 4-man rush. Here comes a 5th. Nussmeier taken down. They collapse the pocket on him. It's your guy Ridgeway.
Now we'll get 99 inside. We talked earlier about denting the pocket. Nice push and then goes to the swing, but redirect and get back to your quarterback. Stick with that pass rush.
Pardon me, 55-yard attempt. He hit from 61 pregame into the wind. He has a huge leg. And this one's going to come up just short. Pressure from the edge. Jefferson steps away from it. Gets up the sideline. He's got a first down and plenty extra. KJ Jefferson, one of the running backs, got hurt. They moved him back, and they said, man, he just looked different at that point. Jefferson gets out of trouble again. Throws on the run, wide open! It's Dominic Johnson and an Arkansas touchdown!
Make the defense pay if they're going to be aggressive. Here comes the blitz. LSU showing 4 down up front. Play action to Burks. KJ Jefferson just makes that one happen on his own. Kind of forces Arkansas to waste the right guard. Spins out of one. Maybe that was a tight end they thought they had on their hands right there with Dominic Johnson. Dominic Johnson.
Nussmeier came in with LSU trailing, gave him the lead. Armani Goodwin gets 2.5 on first down. In LSU history to go for over 100 yards at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Nussmeier intercepted. Miles Slusher with the takeaway.
Arkansas sitting back in 3-deep coverage. Nussmeier comes back to his initial read, and Miles Slusher with a heck of a play stepping in front of that football, laying out.
There have been some thrillers in this series over the years. KJ Jefferson trying to direct another one. Wow, back shoulder, complete for an Arkansas first down. What an adjustment by Warren Thompson.
This is old school odd defense from Durante Jones. KJ Jefferson knows he has to get outside the pocket, and then on the run goes back shoulder to Warren Thompson. Excellent location.
Coach celebrations anytime soon. 54-yard attempt. It's a fake. They go left, and Bowers got a first down. A 23-yard fake field goal.
What a call. Watch 70, Luke Jones right there. Gets the reach, had a cross.
Bauer, the punter and the holder, is able to pick up the first down.
Isaiah Nichols, 93, is just right there at the top of your screen as well. He climbs to the second level.
Shot for Cam Little. And he drills it. Razorbacks reclaim the lead. This is what's on the line. 4 feet of 173 pounds, a 24-karat gold. It's the boot. Boots on the line for the 25th time in a series that LSU has dominated, winning the last 5. Last victory for Arkansas in Baton Rouge, a night game in 2015 against the top 10 LSU team. Won that one 31-14. Pressure coming. Lob. Incomplete. Brian Thomas Jr., the intended receiver. Oof. And that one will leak back over and in. A.J. Green, chance to return from the 2. To the 20, to the 25, out to the 30. You know,
we wear pads, right?
Yeah. Jefferson looking for Knox in a wheel route. Instead, he checks it down. And this is Tyson Morris up the sideline. They bring 5. Nussmeier has it tipped at the line of scrimmage and incomplete. Arkansas looks so different tonight defensively than what they've shown.
Why not come after this offense? You got the offensive line shuffled around. You got a freshman quarterback in the game. Barry Odom has not been a high-pressure, high-volume pressure defense all year.
Razorbacks bring pressure. Incomplete behind the intended receiver, and the Razorbacks defense holds. Jay Jefferson in Arkansas. Facing pressure here. Never sees it. He still stays on his feet. KJ Jefferson has been Houdini tonight. Jay Ward slid right over the top. It turns into a 2-yard gain. Cade York has a big-time leg getting loose. Here's Palmer, and he gets popped right after the completion. Monteric Brown. Arkansas will take a knee and send us to overtime. After all of this, Arkansas could have declined the 10-second runoff, but Sam Pittman must have been happy to send this one to overtime.
Arkansas has won the toss and elected to go on defense first. We will play on this end of the field.
Garrett Nussmeier off the bench for LSU at quarterback. Here's Ty Davis Price wrapped up at the line of scrimmage. No gain.
We're trying to split the field with those two, prevent the deep shot.
They rush 4. Nussmeier pulls it back. He's pressured again. They take him down. Hayden Henry with the sack. It's a loss of 10.
Goodness gracious, can't take the sack. Look at Henry, right side of your screen, comes all the way across the offensive line. Green dog blitz. He's waiting to see if the running back stays in protection. Running back does. He's got the green light to be able to go. Instead of coming north and south.
Three-man rush over the middle. Caught! They got it all back. First down, LSU on a 24-yard completion to Malik Neighbors. Ty Davis Price taken down by Grant Morgan. Nussmeier, end zone. It is intercepted by Monteric Brown. Razorbacks will have a chance for the win. Fourth pick of the season by Buster Brown.
Leverage by the corner will define where this ball needs to be. If you're going to go up top, you have to take that to the back pylon. Back shoulder is okay, but you have to leave it behind the opposite shoulder of the receiver. That ball's just too short or too far inside, one or the other.
Trying to end a 5-game losing streak to LSU. Quarterback run all the way. Jefferson dances out at the 19. Again, the lead. This is Jefferson again to the 20. Wherever Cam Little wants it, Jefferson secures the ball, takes it just inside the 20.
Then Arkansas grabs a little bit of momentum early in the second half. Here we are.
From 37 yards with the boot on the line. A freshman kicker on the road in the SEC. Cam Little leaking. Delivers! Arkansas wins it in overtime. Razorbacks will rush for the boot. Little was dancing on one side of the field, and the Razorbacks grabbed the trophy on the other side. .175 pounds has never felt so light before. This is a kicker that knows how to party, huh?
He deserves it. That's a massive kick, a massive moment for this team, for this program. Haven't had that thing since 2015. Unbelievable.
Sam Pittman said he talked to his guys about the trophy. None of them have ever held it before.
He said most of them hadn't seen it.
Sam Pittman can be emotional. A guy who loves his state, loves this job, and now he can love on that trophy. He's with Tara.
Coach, you have just helped lead Arkansas to its first win over LSU in 5 years. How does that sound to you?
Well, it sounds awesome, but man, it was ugly. But we got it done. We got the boot, Tara.
Little, who has quite the boot as well. What did you think about him getting you guys the win in overtime?
Well, once Mo picked the second, he picked it down there in the end. We were just trying to get a few more yards and then put it in the middle because we got Mr. Automatic back there, and man, did he do a nice job. The guy's got ice water, man. For a young guy, did a heck of a job.
Well, you guys rallied coming out of halftime, and your defense played exceptional. How did you feel about your team's performance, especially the defense?
Well, it was hard. I mean, LSU's got a really good defense. We saw that last week. So it was really hard, on us offensively, and the defensive coaches did such a great job, and the players did a better job than the coaches. And then we just hung in there and made a big play, a busted play, and KJ made a big play, and man, it's nice to be a Hog right now.
We just heard Grant Morgan say, yes, sir. Can we get one from you?
Yes, sir. Go Hog.
Thank you, Coach.
You guys ready to hurry up? Let's go. LSU, Arkansas, Golden Boot at stake.
LSU at the ball game, tied at 10. Garrett Nussmeier picked off. So Arkansas has the ball in overtime, score tied at 13. College kicker situation? Nope. Ball game, Cam Little.
That ball.
Golden Boot goes to Arkansas, 16-13. The finals.
And the trophy between Arkansas and LSU, it's the Golden Boot. And Arkansas hasn't had it in the last 5 seasons. Could they get it by going down to Death Valley? Open quarterback competition for LSU. Max Johnson got the start of the first 2 series. Then it would be Garrett Nussmeier, the freshman, to take over. All right. Best player goes the rest of the way. First series for Johnson, tries to find Trey Bradford, can't. 3 and out. Then sacked by Torian Carter. LSU punts. That's how it went early for Max. Give some credit to the Arkansas defense, though. Later in the first, in comes Nussmeier. You know the last name. Dad's been a coach for a while. NFL, college football, incomplete to Jaray Jenkins. LSU with a field goal, ties it at 3. To the second we go. Nussmeier to an up-and-coming tight end by the name of Jack Besh. How about the play by Nuss, though?
He came out firing. When he got in the game, we were thinking, is he going to warm up? He came out throwing the ball deep. This is a great catch by Besh. And this isn't the first time we've seen him make plays. He's been doing this for all season.
That's right. 10-3 LSU, second half. KJ Jefferson. The Arkansas defense, or rather offense, quiet in the first half. Look at Jefferson. Create a little time. Receiver gets open and he finds him. It's Dominique Johnson.
It's amazing his escapability, right? He's 6'4". I mean, he's so hard to bring down. And look, that was just one play. He did things like that the entire night. It was like Houdini.
And then Nussmeier. Miles Slusher gets the interception, and Nuss struggling. You can understand this. This is a good defense he's playing. And he's, really his first real considerable playing time. Ensuing possession, Arkansas with the field goal. It's a fake. And how about Reed Bauer going 23 yards down the sideline?
That's what LSU typically does to other teams,
That's
right?
True.
They got a little taste of their own medicine there.
Shout out to Scott Fountain, the special teams coach for Arkansas.
See him in the Chiswick Tree?
He sure is.
Oh, nice. 13-10 Arkansas. 3rd and 20 LSU. 3rd and 20, and Nussmeier finds Malik Neighbors for 24. First down. 2nd and 8 then. Nuss throws. Picked. Buster Brown, also known as Monteric, gets the interception.
Well, I'll tell you, he's one of the most productive DBs on that football team. He's always around the football.
Hogs, chance to win it. We go to overtime, and in overtime, all this was overtime. Cam Little, 37 yards, and the boot is going to Fayetteville. How about that? Snapping a 5-game losing streak against LSU. Boy, neither offense really got going. But in the end, Arkansas made plays down the stretch when it had to. What's the ultimate takeaway here from the Razorback win?
Culture wins. And I'm telling you what Sam Pittman is starting to do there. He's starting to build a culture where these guys believe in tight games, they can win. This is a physical mother tonight. They were knocking each other around really, really good, and it could have went either way. But when you start developing that culture the way you want it, then you see players like KJ Jefferson. We just saw him escape and make a huge play. But the physical way he played the game tonight, right? You can't look at his stats and be overwhelmed because he only threw for 142 and he was a leading rusher for 41 yards. But it was how he played the game. That's the way this entire football team is starting to play the game. They're physical. They believe in each other. Here's the thing. You can tell when Arkansas walks on the field, the players play for each other and the players play for the coaches. It's a complete team culture scenario. That's why they're winning these close games.
And they hung in there. I mean, in the first half, we were talking about LSU's defense and how they shut down Arkansas's running game, which is tops in the conference. But in the end of the game, in overtime, it was Arkansas's defense getting the interception to seal that win. And so for them, I mean, this is a defense under Barry Odom that's had 21 interceptions in the last 2 seasons. So they are predicated on turning the ball over. That's what they did tonight.
You mentioned it earlier. They don't really panic. They believe they're going to win in close games. After kicking that field goal in the first drive, they went 6 straight possessions where they punted. 4 of those were 3 and out. LSU was bringing pressures. They had negative plays. but they just hung in there. And you mentioned KJ Jefferson, the poise that he showed, the poise that an entire offense showed, found a way to get it done in the end by playing clean football.
Yeah.
LSU turns it over 3 times. Arkansas, the second lowest turnovers in the conference heading in, didn't turn it over once, and that was the difference.
Talk about clean football. They're outgained by 27, under 300 yards of offense, 3 for 16 on third down, lose the time of possession battle, and still get a win on the road.
And they make plays at the right time. You know why? Because they're in position to do it. It doesn't mean they got to play great all game long, and they don't. But at the right time, they're where they're supposed to be, and they make the plays.
Congrats, Hogs. You get the boot back.